Hello, Americans. This is a video about how the World Trade Center was used remotely. My name is Anthony Wall. This is an affidavit for you, especially New Yorkers, because the time leading up to the World Trade Center, in the context of the World Trade Center attack, I noticed Connecticut intelligence, people associated with them. I didn't know the extent of it, but they had a former director of the FBI, former standing chairperson on the Racketeering Influenced and Corrupt Organization Act, RICO, in short, Robert Luskin, his lawyer, and co-defendants of his. One of them who had a daughter in my high school, who was involved with people between schools I never saw around, and I never I didn't even go in my grammar school. So, but increasingly, people tied to body dumping spots and various natures of organized crime and different difference of the as the interbranch or intelligence too. The difference of that whether where this comes up as a subject and people make opinions or convictions or reach for evidence or data. They've been fabricating evidences. They've been changing what's actually recorded on social media on a mass scale. They have been putting fake data and evidence transcripts with WTNH, for example, faked emails, and they forced the principal child abuser involved with more then and now with the FBI too, with Twitter, and through the sale they hid that from Elon Musk, reportedly and demonstrably. No, I thought he was collusion with the. In other words, but they have all of these people. They're making people have policies before they have policies on their campuses. There are people. Central Connecticut State University has roles with real people in real estate companies where they put halfway conversations. They put fake things in databases consciously as roles with all sides in criminal and civil cases, and or the difference of the interbranch, and or the difference of the intelligence tied to them. Also, before our founders were born, already rules with that entrenched to measure and maintain each self through each self and through each group already assigned a whole bunch of reasons additional hyper additional for its own to need to keep the quality of fact treatment nature criminal and citizen nature of positive treatments and or negative treatments as collusions to keep the identity of the human breaching method from us, to keep the value, for example, only increasing of the scientific value of a human fact treatment nature breaching method being one of the things. True always, not denying exceptions, not valuing them denied by others. That slavery was about. It came before our founders. Don't forget, the suburbs did too. Design of the houses in suburbs of America and in Russia, they look almost exactly alike, if not exactly alike, before our founders were born, before the messengers of modern religions were born. The sciences had already become tactically abridged. The reasons we are named A through Z, we have group differences, but we are a species, individual body of individual bodies. Group differences and it go. The answers to that go with the species volume science. The species bodies, even the insects, have quality aspects in nature shared with humanity, consciousness, awareness of each other. You know, and of the resulting, the relativity of that. Everything is about relativity. See, the breaching method assigned uses of theory, where it also assigned uses of theater, treatments of positive and of negative. Theater as criminal insidiousness. I am not a lawyer, I'm not a police form, not a criminal. So every year leading up to the World Trade Center attack, in that context and since, the names and locations of other nations' equivalents trade. They have trade agreements that leave out consciousness because they are incapable of realizing what is actually recorded and of affording discern. You know, they have trade agreements that can't be defending themselves and afford the short words regarding their value of relative to the Constitution on a bridge. The Constitution is about relativity. I believe it's the Ninth Amendment. We have rights that are too innumerable to list. You guys are playing games because you were left having identity games played. With the difference between the three branches of government is the ones criminally foreign influenced or the other names. See, this is an intercultural and an intracultural. And it's also painting other motives consciously and through time. It's also the difference. Everyone has to test. Oh, we have to test to see which person is going to be like what. That it's differentially. Before anyone took an oath, I don't care how old they were when they took it. They had roles of predicate acts with facts. Black pupils. New York City. See, the World Trade Center had and has roles with psychiatry, tactically delusions wrought. They're putting fake transcripts in databases no one was looking into. Increasingly has collusions with all locations, even with investigative journalism locations, like the news, Connecticut news media. And then it's not personal. They're making them pretend they have rights or needs to defend integrity where they're not supposed to pretend integrity. Then they can't follow mandated law. And they have to pretend others. They say collusions, forcing quality of fact should be nature at all locations that's fake and pretending other. That's the problem. How many millions of people know this? So the reason the formal locations don't allow this, we just want, you know, all the then they're going to make more police of the internet. They're jumping into people's problems. Oh, their behavior was bad. They're leaving out what came up first. They're putting they're planting fake. They're saying not just because they're saying fake things on media, they're changing what's there too. They're putting increasingly people that didn't even have classes together, pretended in databases other. All and then the exceptions they also shows they can't afford to have with shows. In other words, there are answers to why and to how black pupils. This is left out from the questions of American history. This is left out why they want to have debates about homework when they have differential takes on American history. They're all criminally foreign influence, sickly distinctly. And the difference of that is self value when they're defending people. In other words, before the Constitutional Convention, their narratives by they had to close the windows so no one could hear. That's not that's why they had to close the window so no one could hear because our founders had to counter. James Madison had to counter extort the other founders, and he got George Washington to help because George Washington was also tortured, extorted, and everyone was factory nature enslaved. That's what was sickly distinctly too to keep how functionally how everyone would leave out everyone sickly non-distinctly. Everyone was the victim of the same thing, but I would leave it out because this method had perfected itself from some ancient times. Everyone through each other, it hurt everyone. That's not the only reason I employ black, white to mean other than nature communicates. That's not the only reason this is left out. Every time subjects, like, they keep the subjects parted like religion. You guys have the experts on things. The beginning of the Old Testament, the beginning of the Quran, they both say this is the only part you have to understand up to, and then they qualify it to make the individual the expert on it. rather than the group think. To use the phrase with the World Trade Center attack, because there are more World Trade Center attack predicate acts roles in natures and fake motivations planting. This breaching method thrives on its needs and its method of knowing what your motivations are going to be before each age, or they sense us. Because the real what we would have come up, I would have had means to discern. You don't want you know that you didn't want anything to do. You wanted the Native Americans individually grouped in together. You try to communicate that. Then you start meeting the where how the adults and the kids from off campuses, they have influences and delusions you have to be taught about delusions. I'm not even a doctor. Doctors have been attaching little kids and their families to fake conversations with themselves and others, ones with badges. They have roles with intelligence leaking about this at Harvard Hospital. They have roles with various natures of organized crime groups, regardless if they're undercover or not, with the ones associated with the name. With, with the Weathersfield Police, with the names on Facebook, with the Los Solitos, like a Joey Quest. I don't know if it was a real him or not, but he's the one. In other words, how they know me is through the Weathersfield Police. People that were planting evidences, they hid what I recorded when they were trying to plant evidences. Between the campuses I went, there were strangers and people from other areas that were planting campuses there, and they even make it look like I knew the people here together. And I never saw them here. Like a Fred Grisey came on my street. He didn't even live around here. And I didn't even realize, and I did. I realized they were doing, in other words, has something to do with a former Mayor Gold and other mayors, one that lives and people tied to them, like next to I don't know if the Weathersfield Educational Department. Next to all the campuses, though, fire campuses too. West Hartford mayors and even governors. Governor Malloy has roles with the name O'Neill on off West Hartford campuses. People associated with foreign and domestic military confessed to me, demonstrated, recorded, confessed, confirmed shortly before the World Trade Center attack. And long term from people from Weathersfield too, to spots near the highway there, near West Farms Mall. They have roles with people who put fake things in databases that I never had classes with in my high school. They had their teachers were involved with the intelligence community, and they're involved with the gang theft, fraud, slander with Police Chief Cintron, his daughter, and 1 years ago involved with the same house with them, and other houses associated with the wire crimes with Weathersfield Police, switching names on different falsified police reports. So they obviously refuse to identify themselves and pretend other part of their extortion. But this is worse than extortion. And this is on a mass scale. That's why you can't afford to have discerned the things our founders told us to correlate. See, president slash chief. They told us to tap into that nature that knows the Native Americans were sickly being hurt by the sick fake system of integrity that itself had only been allowed to be part of it, or worse. And even if that, in other words, nobody is safe until the hyper foreign is overcome. And, the hyper foreign made self value roles with itself. Not because of it controls money, because it controls your fact sheet nature, quality aspects of nature. Even if you're wealth, wealth's not speaking for logic. Look at the suburbs. They were designed before our founders were born. Boxy. So we have to have mandated law follow. What they do is prevent people short words, and they sequence shift and change what everyone says at locations. The right to lie is a summary. In other words, increasingly, the identity of all the formal identities of law never had integrity. This preaching method forced, tricked, hurt, and persuaded. other to be, pretended. Besides our founders who had to force that for other reasons. See, but those reasons you aren't letting us reach them. Same reason you guys don't, their collusions with the religions, including with the counters against the religions, their collusions with them, because they have atheists and they have religiously charged nutbags, interreligious, on and off the campuses. Where oh, well, that's one what I say, I don't even know you. They time where people say things. Former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, whole bunch of people with the name Demorrow and tied to them. There's a Keller, I don't know, is a Keller real estate or if that's the one. I don't know. They're making me not be able to get the things because each year they planted evidences into cities. Murderers came involved with this after the World Trade Center attack. They have a Dean Judd and his family members involved. And then I went to Trinity College. I'm still trying to get background in the stuff. They have a whole bunch of people tied to a Kololo and to other neighbors that used to live in the area. That used to hang around with them and be in conversations with them. Sometimes their fault, sometimes the fault of judges involved with them and their friends associated with them. They put a wire. They put a people that you never in the suburbs. You don't ever see people around. And if you do, they're keeping foreign bodies involvements with them out. They have something to do. They do. It's manifest where they use truth for lies. They make it look of the time when this he walks right there. They have the kids will know another kid's name. They're not even in the same class. They're going to be in the cafeteria. They're not even going to see them. They're going to say, she said once, or he, I don't know, said, me American, me very smart, me put pee pee in your coke. And then it goes, me Chinese, me very smart, me from pee pee. I don't know, something like that. But they have intercultural through time. They also have abuses of the leaders of the kids, so they could be involved with the abuses of others. The kid of a Dean Judge and his family members were abused, also by people involved with the principal upskirt nature and other child abuse is worse. I caught them involved with, and more then and now. And they forced them not before it was proven by arresting me and fabricating the stuff. To hide I caught them. They put fake emails, and they hid how the conversations weren't even over even the email. They were over a phone, and left a whole bunch of messages and confessions, and brought up a whole bunch of more names, like a Mike Levine. These are also people further on Route 3 through time. A whole bunch of people tied to it. Paul Zano recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed he's involved with them. With all kinds of natures of child abuse, identity theft, fraud, slander, and federal evidence is crimes. And with the intelligence community interstate, as ones involved criminally foreign influence, foreign too. There are other people on his street too, on Maple Street. I don't know if he still lives there. I was going to his house real quick one time, and that was only to make a fake exception so they could pretend I won't know if me or other people say anything. They have something to do with the David Santangelo too, and their roles with all the things tied to major factory of nature. These are sick people involved with the elderly homes has the same names that are involved with predicate acts on my street at the elderly homes against me too, and at the same ones. Time I caught involved with the principal child abuser and the people that brought it up, while bringing up confessions about their roles with untimely deaths, and as one on Trinity College. And you guys, this is worse than extortion and torture. And you have not addressed the extortion and torture of George Washington yet. This is obviously why. You can't afford that discern because you guys pretended to be integrity before you were. The January 6th, that was more you every time you bring up Washington, you're used remotely, measuring and maintained self-valued roles, tools, needs, and natures, forcing, tricking, hurting, persuading, other than the breaching method as a scientific value, and then all that all relative to it with our founders. They didn't have free speech; they had to counter extort the other portion of the founders, and they had to thank God for the inherent active and progressive help of the Native Americans against themselves too, because it was everyone's trying to do damage control, and no one could do it. So they left us to show the Constitution is unabridged, the quality of fact-driven nature at formal legal locations, and the prisons and exceptions tied to them since before too, before we were born. They never stopped all the exceptions till they change it. They can't speak for the law. They're tactically delusions raw, predicate acts with facts, nature's black people. They had to keep on blamed on other things, others themselves, the real causes of negative value, nature, progressions, acts, and nations at New York City. The real causes for educational deficiencies. You know, we have to pull theory out of we have to let go of theory, and you know have to observe what they've been calling theory, how they've been keeping things restricted, all podium locations, all formal, even national, international news involved with the Connecticut intercities news and with the names next to them. Whole bunch of people tied to a Ray Reynolds and a Mike Pandolf, and then too with a Mike Roberts and a Ray Collo, and he has a cousin of Phil Collo involved with state police, interstates. Eric Jensen too, and all along the Berlin Turnpike. They have timed roles with a whole bunch of different countries and with mayors and people associated with Central Connecticut State University, Middlesex Community College is further involved with police switching and forging names. And at Central Connecticut State University, involved with predicate acts against students. On campuses filmed 24/7, they're putting people with fake ties to each other, fake natures of ties to it on campus. No one's looking. And then they're in databases like at Hartford Hospital. Has a whole bunch of people at Hartford Hospital with like tied to it, a Mark Violet, people with the name Leahy as doctors too, and Lombardo, Christopher Walters, a whole bunch of intelligence community next to them. They have roles with like Mark Violet and Mike Violet with a girl who was reportedly dragged to her death and dropped off at the one of the corners on Jordan Lane and Ridge Road. And all those corners on Ridge Road have people that spoke fake things into records with the interbranch. They influence people to plant things and things because been using. They've been while being and having been used remotely criminally for an influence. New York City, Connecticut, kids, get your parents onto paper. I mean, some of your kids, some of your parents are intelligence community, and some of those ones who are intelligence community are actually criminally foreign influence. And you know, everyone is to an extent because when you're making fact treatments, this is how you guys get away with it because of the sense and sensibilities when there's little kids. And this is a game when they have people separated, they're pushing in lies with there because see, the intelligence community has roles with people with Los Solitos and with people with other natures of criminal enterprises and of private ones and in criminal insidiousness of the people's logic of A through Z as colonists and still regarding the value of voting, for example. relative to where and to how. More important is integrity by the use of those locations. And the breaching method used and uses location slash S. And then further, it sustained that and rolls with it. And then to keep not realized how it's using also further database relationships. And then further, where and how the sciences are manifest, individually grouped and together. The departments of Central Connecticut State University are being and having been used remotely, individually grouped in together. And it involved the FBI director, former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, and his uses remotely of a whole bunch of names, also of other agencies and their family members on up the campuses I went. And they used the word bullying to make it look like all people I went to campuses with will tell you other than the Weathersfield police pretend, because they attached me to fake ties to others and fake communications with themselves. See, that's why they had to pretend to the news that I communicated with them as a kid. I never went down to the police when I was a kid, and the kids who did go down there were kids I didn't even know, tied to my neighbor, one of my neighbors, the one that's still involved with them with more wire crimes, with Weathersfield Police, Weathersfield PD, and Weathersfield Police together. And then with the street, the ones switching names, they made the confession. They have ones with the name Sullivan. Kids from my sixth grade class recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. There's a Daryl Sullivan, and there are people on Park Street involved with a Lance Cuddy and or uses of his name in my sixth grade class, who are then and now further involved with predicate acts with child offenders, with WTNH, WFSB, and Fox Connecticut News, and other news locations. There's also community service, community public television, and people associated with the name Baruch, I believe it's a Bayer, a woman, and I believe there are men associated with her with the same name. But as a mayor, as a lawyer of Weathersfield Police Chief Cintron, see whether and a lawyer, a former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin. He was warned by the judge in the picture on the wall in the case in a 2006 district court case not to appear without a lawyer. So his lawyer was Robert Chevrolet. He was also the lawyer of the other three people involved on off Fox Connecticut News with predicate acts against me, on off WFSB with predicate acts against me, and with names next to them. There's a Mike Demain and Adam Demain, and their parents. I don't know their parents' names, their families association. Also, and there's a Mazzucato Bakery in Hartford. And years since for years before where they have the bakery now,